Hello students, we'll start with elements of EIA. In elements of EIA, we will go through what is the basic structure of EIA procedure, and then we will move to the various stages of full scale EIA. So in environmental impact assessment, there are so many tools to identify the environmental impacts and finding its solutions, and finally prepare an EIA report, and this EIA report is submitted to the authority to take a decision whether we have to go with the project or not. Okay, so the entire EIA procedure can be divided into two tasks, or the preparation of two sub reports. That is, the first one is initial environmental examination, that is IEE, and the second one is full scale environmental impact assessment, that is EIA. Okay, so first we'll see what is an initial environmental examination or IEE. So, as a definition, IEE is a means of reviewing the environmental integrity of projects to help determine whether or not EIA level studies can be undertaken. So, it is just like a screening whether we have to go for a full scale EIA or not. So, it helps in identifying whether this project has to be gone through all the stages of EIA, which requires a great effort and time, and requires a lot of money. So it helps in saving all those things. Okay, so it is just like a screening process, and we will get into this in detail when we come to the full scale EIA part. Okay, so this is a most efficient and feasible preparation of adequate environment management plans. So this we will come you will understand this better in the coming slides. So now I will explain to you how the IE is done. So it with the help of a flow chart. So here first you have to identify the potential significant environmental issues in the site first. So you consider this IEE as a reconnaissance survey. Okay, so before doing a main survey part, there is a term known as reconnaissance survey, isn't it? So you will first go to the site, you will identify where all locations you have to fix the instrument and all. There is a procedure, there is a process like this, like that, isn't it, in the surveying part. So just like that, initial environmental examination is just like that. So you are visiting the site and you will identify what all potential significant environmental issues are prevalent in that particular site. So, and after that you will acquire the information related to the environmental issues, and then you will classify the significant environmental impacts, and after the classification you have to come up with a remedy. So you have to resolve all the impacts, significant environmental impacts, that is SEIs. Okay, and you are coming up with a management plan, which means that this plan will help you during all the phases of the project to mitigate that impact. Okay, and after a preparation of this environmental management plans, that is EMPs, or environmental protection measures, that is EPMs, you will finally arrive at the question, are all the SEIs resolved? Okay, so the proponent has to ask themselves the question, are all the SEIs resolved? If it is yes, you have to finally arrive at a IEE report. So you are submitting only the IEE report now, and which includes the significant environmental impact, environmental management plan, and the environment protection measures. Okay, and if you doesn't resolve all the issues, so if the answer is no, then you have to recommend the IEE, that is initial environmental examination, should recommend a full scale EIA. Okay, so we will see one example. So this shows a map of a particular area, and I am taking two regional roads here. Okay, and this is so our example is a regional road development project. Okay, and this regional road development project is classified under category B project as category B project. Okay, so what is a category B project? It is a projects which have some adverse environmental impacts, okay, but lesser degree or significance than in the category A. So all the various types of projects or all the types of projects are grouped under various categories, and the category A project contains or requires full scale EIA. Whatever be the situation, it requires the full scale EIA. Okay, so the category A needs a full scale EIA, but the category B project, it has adverse environmental impacts. So you have to identify all those environmental impacts, and you have to decide whether this requires a full scale EIA, which takes so much time and money. Okay, so in order to avoid that situation, whether only initial environmental examination is whether this IE is only required in this project, you are deciding it by conducting an IEE, or you are helping the proponent to save so much time and money. Okay, so an IEE is required to determine whether the significant environmental impacts warranting an EIA are likely. If an EIA is not needed, what will the proponent do? IEE is sufficient. So the initial environmental examination is sufficient if all the significant environmental impacts are answered in the initial environmental examination report. Okay, I think this is clear to you. And take the example of a road development project. So you take one road like this. Okay, so we have chosen two roads. One of the road is looking like this. You imagine like that, and the road development project is like this. Okay, so the so much of land acquisition is happening, and in that a farmland is covered by this particular road project. So you are going to this location, you are identifying what are the issues in that particular site. So that was the first step, isn't it? And then you are acquiring the information and you are identifying the impacts. So what are the impacts? So it can be the loss of fertility, health and safety hazards of the workers and the community, damage to the vegetation, and there is a water body near to that, so you are deteriorating the surface water quality. So these are the certain impacts. So I am only highlighting the very few significant environmental impact over here. Okay, so you have acquired the information regarding the same. So what was the third step? Third step was the classification of significant environmental impacts, which means that suppose this in the construction phase or in the operational phase, you are finding out certain impacts. So in the constructional phase, you are identifying an impact of sediment deposition in the river. So it happens only during the constructional phase. Okay, so you are classifying all these significant environmental impacts under various categories or various, you are classifying it. Okay, so after classification, see, you are classifying maybe you are classifying under the soil category, and so inside the soil category again you are classifying as construction and operational phase, like that. Okay, I hope you have understood the classification part. Okay, so after the classification, you have found out enough information about that, and after that you have to resolve this particular issues. Okay, you are resolving these issues, which means that if there is a sediment deposition, what you will do? Okay, suppose you will cover this particular area, or you will you will give the barricade over that particular place so that the sediments won't come to that particular water or the surface water area, like that. Okay, so various mitigation measures you are giving for each impacts. Okay, so you are developing an environmental management plan. Okay, so we will see this example. You can see that for each potential impact there are mitigation measures. Okay, for say I have only listed only two here, but you will come up with a environmental plan like this. Okay, this is known as environmental management plan, and for each and every issues listed or identified in the stages will be listed like this, and corresponding mitigation measures will be suggested, given by the proponent, so that action can be taken as soon as possible. If there is an impact coming suddenly in the site or in the project, you readily have a issue or a solution for that thing by preparing a plan. This is known as the environmental management plan, or EMP. So IEE is a means of providing the most efficient and feasible preparation of adequate environmental management plan with or without the requirement of full scale EIA. So this will help in identifying whether you require a full scale EIA or not. Okay, and for almost all the industrial development project, IEE is desirable. Okay, so it is simply because of its economic point of view. And here, so after developing the environmental management plan or environmental protection measures EPM, the proponent has to ask the question, are all the SCIs resolved? So if the answer is yes, IEE report is sufficient to continue with the project. So IEE now contains the SCIs, EMPs and EPMs. And if answer is no, IEE will recommend for a full scale EIA. So that is for the further study. So next we will see what is a full scale environmental impact assessment. So in the full scale environmental impact assessment, there are so many stages to be followed, and as a definition, it is a multidisciplinary approach to environmental impact analysis which helps in decision making process, and it gives equal consideration to all the potential impact. So it gives a quantified amount and will give a suggestion for the mitigation measures. And it is classified into three stages. Okay, so the general classification is like this, that is scope identification, prediction and evaluation. So we will see one by one. In the first one, that is methods of identification of environmental impacts, it assists in specifying the range of impacts that may occur, including their special dimensions and time frame. This usually involves the components of environment affected by the activities of the project. So the environment of man consists of air, water, land and noise, while the man-made environment is the socio-economic aspects, aesthetics and transportation. So we will give a closer look into this particular paragraph. Consider the same site in which a new project is coming, new industry is coming, where we have to identify all the environmental impacts happening in that particular area. So it will be for the flora and fauna, and for the air pollution, air, soil, like this we will identify all the environmental impacts in that particular area. So that is the first step, scope identification or methods of identification of environmental impacts. And the second one is the predictive methods. The predictive methods will define the quantity or special dimensions of impacts on an environmental resource. It can differentiate between various project alternatives in terms of questions covering how much or where the impact may occur, which means that in this particular site where an new industry is coming, the impact should be measured on how much depth this particular impact is going to happen, or into how much area is this particular impact is going to happen. So in the predictive method, we will get the answer for how much and where this particular impact is going to happen or occur. So that is the second thing, that is the predictive methods. The third one is methods of evaluation. Methods of evaluation determine the groups that may directly affected by the project or action. They will communicate to the decision maker the deficiencies and are between possible alternatives or courses of action. And so in the methods of evaluation, it is given, the EIA is giving a platform to the public which is directly affected by the particular project or action. Okay, so with the help of a term known as public participation. So the public participation is incorporated in environmental impact assessment to hear the concerns of the public in and around that particular area which is directly affected by the project. Okay, so these concerns are communicated to the decision makers of the project, and they will discuss these issues and they will come up with the solutions or possible alternatives that can be done in the project design or in the project implementation or like that, and to reduce the impacts. Okay, to reduce the impacts due to that particular action or activity. Okay, so these are the main three general classification of or impact classification in the full scale EIA. So in the next slide or in the next video we will cover various stages of EIA. So in this particular video we have covered the general categorization or general procedure followed in environmental impact assessment. Thank you.